Hello everybody, my name is Oliver. My mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea, and today what we're gonna dive into is why shaded teas are actually less astringent. So when you're looking for green tea, often we hear from people, when I drink green tea, they're often very bitter. I don't like them because my mouth feels dry, or I kind of have a strong astringency with the tea. So what most people don't know is that that's something you can easily vary, and often a very good choice is that you go for a shaded green tea. Here, for example, I brought two teas with me. On the left I have a bancha, and on the right I have a gyokuro. And the gyokuro is shaded up to 3 weeks, meanwhile the bancha isn't shaded at all. And what you already can see, and this is already the first thing you have to look after, is that you need darker tea leaves. When we just have a look at the leaves here on the bancha, we have a little bit of a green, but a lighter green, nearly a little bit of brown, a little bit more mature leaves also here. So you can see that the kind of the color is a little bit lighter, turning a little bit into the brown color. Meanwhile, when we go to the gyokuro, when we look at the gyokuro, we see this jade green, dark green color, which is typical for a shaded green tea, and the gyokuro is the longest shaded. But before I go a little bit into what actually shading is and what it does, is we have to go a little bit into the history of shading. So shading was something which was by coincidence discovered by Mr. Yamamoto Kasai 6. So he was a tea merchant and studying tencha tea in the south of Japan, and he did several travels throughout his lives to the south, and during one of these he saw that the farmers actually, to protect the tea leaves from the cold, started to cover the tea leaves used for tencha, the basis of matcha, which is then ground into the matcha powder. And what he saw is also that it renders the tea quite smooth and quite sweet. So he said to himself, okay, this is maybe something which can be applied to sencha, and then they started to apply this, and gyokuro was born. And gyokuro is the longest shaded tea, developed until the 1840, where it was the first time introduced in the market. So it's a tea which is very smooth, very sweet, and very savory. When we go into what are kind of the main parts in green tea which are soluble and giving taste to the tea, we talk mainly about 4 soluble compounds. 1 is vitamin, 2 is theanine, 3 is catechins, and the 4th is caffeine. So when we look into these 4 compounds, for sure there are many more, but these are kind of the main compounds which are going into the water and then giving or kind of developing the taste of your tea. When we talk about caffeine widely known to be present in black tea, also in green tea. What it actually in nature, what the role is in the nature of caffeine, is that it wears off the bugs from the young buds. The young buds, mainly the parts of the tea plant which contain the most caffeine. There we talk around 3 to 4%, which the young buds kind of have of caffeine. And what it actually does to the taste of it is that it renders the tea leaf slightly bitter. And bitterness, the bugs, they don't like bitterness, so it wears them off, which is a great protection mechanism. Then a second thing, what also is contained in the tea plant is actually the theanine. Theanine is the part which renders the tea sweet and smooth and savory. The reason is that it plays the most with the upper part of the tongue, where the umami receptor also sits, and there it gives this tea kind of this sweet, savory taste note. So when the theanine is rich, when the theanine is high in the tea leaf, then you can have a very sweet tea which is not bitter and astringent. And the reason why some teas or some green teas then become astringent is the sun. So when the sun touches actually the tea leaves, then the theanine, which is coming from the root of the plant to the leaves, is turned into catechins. And catechins are also the most studied particles of the green tea plant, because catechins are known for their antioxidative effect. So it liberates your body from free radicals or from toxins. So it's a very interesting compound, but if it's too much present, if it's too strong, then finally it renders your tea bit astringent. So you have it mainly in the mix or in the balance of the theanine together with the catechin. So when the catechins, when the farmer tries to render his tea more sweet, then what he tries is that he really shades it. Either he does a Gyokuro, which is then up to 3 weeks, or he does a Kabusu Sencha. Kabusu Sencha are 7 to 14 days shaded teas. Most of them are around 7 days, just to give them a sweet, round and smooth umami flavor. So there's a little bit balance of sweetness and savoriness. And then if long shading is applied, then finally you really get to a very sweet and a strong savoriness. In the aspect of the tea leaves, when we look at the tea leaves and we dive into the color, is you can also spot a tea which is less astringent, which is a little bit more savory and sweet. And this is especially a tea which has a very, very dark leaf color. So for example, I brought here a bancha from the south of Japan. So you can see the bancha itself. It is not a typical very strong green, but there's kind of this green, a little bit slightly brownish color to it. So this is an unshaded leaf, and you can see in which direction the color of the tea leaf evolves. When we go to the other side, here we see a Gyokuro. So this is a 3-week shaded tea. And here you can really see that you have a deep, dark, jade green color of the tea leaf, and it's very beautiful how kind of also you have kind of a nearly a shimmer on the tea leaf. So it's very, very different in terms of the aspect already between the two teas, and there's a little bit, there are nearly a little bit shiny leaves of this tea. So this is mainly how you can distinguish also a typical unshaded from a shaded tea. But in terms of taste, what we talk about is that the tea really moves away from these astringent taste notes and really goes into a sweet and savory taste note. So what I will do now is just that I brew this tea with around 6 degrees Celsius of water. We have here 5 grams of tea, and we just gonna shade this. We're gonna brew this, and then we're just gonna let it sit for around 1.5 minutes. So this tea is coming from the south of Japan. So the main region also, when you talk about Gyokuro or for shaded tea, so the main region for Gyokuro is the region of Fukuoka. Also Yame might be a name you have already heard of. So this is the biggest production region for Gyokuro. When we go a little bit more south from Fukuoka, so you have the Kyushu island, then you go a little bit more south, there you have Kagoshima. Kagoshima is, after Shizuoka, the second biggest, accounting for around 1/3 of the whole production of Japanese green tea in Japan, and Shizuoka around 40% as the biggest region. This tea here is coming from the region of Shibushi, so this is close to Kagoshima, around 45 minutes. And the farmer who does this tea is actually specializing in only Gyokuro, so on a high skilled level. And he's also the president of the Organic Tea Association in Kagoshima. Good. So then I just do the first brewing with you. So you can see I didn't use too much water. So here we have a nice golden color. Sometimes Gyokuro, especially when it's coming from a deeper and dark greener cultivar, can render even in a very beautiful kind of strong green color. Here we have a little bit of a less, so this is a little bit of a lower quality Gyokuro, or kind of a lower grade Gyokuro, but still very well shaded, as you could see. When we just have a look at the leaves after the first brewing, so very beautiful green, so they start to unfold, but this is now the first brewing, so they are not fully unfold. Let's have a sip. What you immediately discover when you drink once a shaded green tea is this kind of nearly a little bit thicker texture of the water. It glides a little bit more on top of the tongue. It is very fast, going in the direction of a little bit of a fruity flavor profile. You might kind of find a little bit of pineapple, you might find a little bit of mango. Very, very nice sweetness, but then also turning into a more savory taste profile in kind of a more, sometimes they can even be a little bit brothy, but I like to describe it more down to sweetness and then giving it a little bit more of kind of depth to the taste, and then turning a little bit more into a slight savory taste profile. Depending on how strong the Gyokuro is and what kind of varietal is used, it can be stronger and less strong. But this we will talk about in another video. So here, Gyokuro, really no astringency at all. I can't feel anything in terms of also of bitterness. So the high amount or the rich amount of theanine in the leaf really allows the tea to give you a very smooth, sweet and savory taste profile without going into this bitterness. Just a very, very nice and sweet tea. Good. So I hope you like this one too. This was another daily sip about why shaded teas are less astringent. I hope it's a little bit more clear for you. And if you have any questions or if you want to leave a comment, please feel free to do so. Just leave me a comment here below, and I guess I see you in the next video. And if you ever want me to cover a subject or a section which you would like to see, I'll be happy to do so. Thanks a lot and see you. Bye bye.